My mother-in-law saw me as her maid, and my husband didn't object, but I broke their family rules. My name is Sarah Martinez. I used to catch million-dollar accounting fraud for a living, but somehow I couldn't see the emotional fraud happening in my own kitchen. It was Christmas Eve morning in Denver, and I was standing in my mother-in-law Patricia Williams' kitchen, holding a handwritten list of chores that would make a prison warden blush. My hands were shaking, not from the cold, but from something I couldn't quite name yet. Don't just stand there, Sarah.
Listen to me,
you live in his
lady,
house and eat his
you will
food.
do
The
exactly
least you can do is earn your
say.
keep. Those words hit me like ice water. 5 years. 5 years I'd been hearing variations of that line. 5 years of being treated like Michael's property instead of his partner. But you know what? I told myself it was normal. I told myself that's just how families work. God, I was so wrong. I had given up everything for this family. My CPA career, my independence, my sense of self. I thought I was making a noble sacrifice. Raising Emma, being a good wife, keeping the peace. But standing there at 6:30 a.m., scrubbing someone else's baseboards while my 5-year-old daughter slept upstairs, I felt something crack inside my chest. Then I heard it. Emma's voice from the next room. Small, scared, breaking. Stop that whimpering. Worthless, just like your mother. That's when my CPA brain kicked in. You know what accountants do when something doesn't add up? We investigate. We dig deeper. We find the truth. And I started calculating exactly what these people owed me. The interest was about to compound in ways they never expected, because what Patricia didn't know, what neither of them knew, was that I was about to break every single one of their family rules. If you've ever felt invisible in your own life, if you've ever been treated like hired help in your own family, then you need to hear this story. Hit that subscribe button, because what happened next changed everything. And I want you to comment below. Have you ever had a moment where you realized you'd been accepting way less than you deserved? Or has anyone in your family ever made you feel like you owed them your entire life just for basic respect? Let me take you back 5 years to understand why we hadn't visited Patricia before this. At our wedding reception, she'd cornered me by the bathroom. I can still smell her cheap perfume, still feel her bony fingers gripping my arm. I know what you are, Sarah, a gold digger who trapped my son. I was so shocked, I couldn't even respond. My mouth just opened and closed like a fish. Michael brushed it off later. She's just protective, he said. Give her time. 5 years later, I was still giving her time. The truth is, I had suspected something was wrong with our finances for months. Michael always insisted on handling the bills himself, saying I was too busy with Emma to worry about it. Whenever I asked to see statements, he'd get defensive. Don't you trust me? I've got it under control. But scrubbing Patricia's baseboards at 7 a.m., something clicked. I pulled out my phone and did what I should have done months ago. I logged into our accounts directly. What I found confirmed my worst suspicions. $400 in bar charges every single month. I'd been right to be suspicious, but I'd let him gaslight me into doubting my own instincts. My hands started shaking. Emma's preschool cost $300 a month. The preschool he said we couldn't afford. I scrolled down. $50 on lottery tickets last week. $100 on some sports betting app. While I'm cutting coupons for generic cereal. I had to run to Patricia's bathroom and dry heave over the toilet. My own husband had been lying to my face for years. I sat there on that bathroom floor, shaking with rage and something else, determination. For the first time in months, my mind felt clear. That's when I remembered something. 3 weeks ago, I'd gotten a LinkedIn message from Jennifer at Henderson & Associates. Something about them expanding their remote team and looking for experienced CPAs. I'd ignored it then, told myself I was happy being a housewife. But now, sitting on Patricia's kitchen floor scrubbing baseboards, I pulled up that message again. My hands were shaking as I typed back, "Hi Jennifer, is that position still available?" She responded within minutes, "Sarah, yes, absolutely. 70,000 to start, full remote. When can we talk?" 70,000. That was 15,000 more than Michael made. 15,000 more than the man who'd been telling me I was lucky to be taken care of. I told her I'd call back after New Year's, but my hands were trembling as I hung up. Not from fear, from something else. Something that felt like possibility. Then I heard Patricia in the kitchen with Emma. "Hold that heavy pot steady, child. If you drop it, you'll scrub this floor with a toothbrush. Grandma, it's too heavy. Too heavy. You're 5 years old, not 2. Stop being lazy like your mother." I pulled out my phone to text my mum about how things were going, but then I heard Patricia's voice getting louder with Emma. I'd actually been documenting things for weeks, taking photos of Emma's bruises from accidents, saving screenshots of Michael's defensive texts about money. Something in my gut told me this was another piece of evidence I'd need. At first it was just instinct, mama bear instinct to document what was happening in case Emma got hurt and I needed to explain to a doctor or, I don't know, I just knew I needed proof of something. Later that afternoon, Michael left his laptop charging in the living room while he went to take a shower. I was dusting nearby when I heard the notification ping. The screen lit up, showing his Gmail inbox. I wasn't trying to snoop, but the subject line of the newest email made me freeze. Christmas visit strategy. I knew I shouldn't look, but my hands moved before my brain could stop them. I clicked it open, and what I saw made my blood turn to ice. It was a reply to an earlier email Michael had sent, with the subject line, "Sarah problem." My heart stopped. Actually stopped for a second. I clicked it open with trembling fingers. "Mum, you were right about Sarah getting too comfortable. She needs to remember her place as my wife. This Christmas visit should humble her back into line." Patricia's reply made me want to vomit. Perfect timing with the holidays. A little family tradition. Reminder should help her remember her priorities. Let me handle the details. I know exactly how to make her grateful for what she has. No daughter-in-law is going to forget her place in this family. They had planned this. Every humiliation, every impossible chore, every insult to my daughter. It wasn't Patricia being difficult. It wasn't Michael being weak. It was psychological warfare, and I was the target. But they forgot one crucial detail about me. I don't break. I calculate. And I was about to serve them an itemized bill for 5 years of disrespect. I spent the rest of that morning documenting everything, every cruel word, every impossible demand. When Patricia made Emma wash dishes standing on a wobbly stool, I recorded it. When she called my daughter worthless, I saved it. When Michael walked past his crying child to grab another beer, I captured that too. By noon, I had 5 hours of evidence. By afternoon, I had a plan. The breaking point came at dinner prep. I was in the kitchen, exhausted from a day of manual labour, when Patricia walked in with Emma. "Take this chef's knife and chop these vegetables, and don't be clumsy like your useless mother." I watched in horror as she placed a sharp knife in my 5-year-old's tiny hands. Emma looked at me with those big, scared eyes, and something inside me just snapped. "Put that knife down, Emma, right now." Patricia whirled around, her face twisted with indignation. "Excuse me, I'm teaching her responsibility, something you've clearly failed at. Emma, go pack your bags, sweetheart, we're leaving." "You most certainly are not. This is my house, and you'll follow my rules." That's when Michael wandered in, coffee cup in hand, completely oblivious to what was happening to his own daughter. "What's all this drama about? Sarah, where's my fresh coffee?" And that's when I made the move I'd been planning for hours. I walked over to him, picked up that cold coffee mug. It was still half full and stone cold from sitting there for hours. I looked him straight in the eyes. After 5 years of being treated like his servant, after watching him ignore his daughter's pain, I slowly, deliberately poured every last drop right over his head. It wasn't violence, it was a statement. The silence was deafening. The silence was deafening. Cold coffee dripped from his hair down his face onto his shirt. The smell of stale coffee filled the air. Patricia's mouth fell open. Emma stopped crying and just stared. "What the hell? Are you insane?" "No, Michael, I'm done." Patricia found her voice first, stammering like she couldn't believe what she'd just witnessed. You can't. This is my house. You live in his house and eat his food." I smiled. Actually smiled. Cold and calm and completely in control for the first time in 5 years. "Actually, Patricia, I'm not your maid, and I'm not his property either." For the first time in 5 years, Patricia Williams was speechless. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish, gasping for air. She literally froze, stunned. The woman who'd been barking orders at me all day suddenly looked small, but the real blow was still coming. "Let me tell you what I really am, Patricia. I'm a CPA who just got offered a $70,000 job. That's $15,000 more than your precious son makes. I have 5 hours of recordings of you abusing my daughter. And I have these." I pulled out the divorce papers I'd printed that morning at the library. Patricia's face went white. Divorce papers, already filled out on my end. Michael was still wiping coffee from his eyes, trying to process what was happening. "Sarah, you can't be serious. We can work this out. Don't do anything rash." "Rash?" "Michael, I spent 5 years being patient while you chose your mother over your wife and daughter every single day. The only rash decision I made was staying this long." Patricia recovered enough to try one last manipulation. "You can't leave. I'll make sure Michael gets full custody. No judge will give a child to a mother who abandons her family." That's when we heard the knock at the door, a neighbour drawn by the shouting. "Mum?" We heard screaming, "Is everything all right?" I turned to the neighbour with the biggest smile I'd felt in years. "Actually, yes, everything's perfect now. I was just explaining to my mother-in-law that I don't work here anymore." The neighbour's eyes went wide as she took in the scene. Coffee-soaked Michael, frozen Patricia, little Emma clutching her stuffed bunny by the stairs. "Patricia, what on earth is going on here?" Patricia tried to stammer out some explanation, but I was already moving. I took Emma's hand, grabbed our bags, and walked toward the door. "If anyone asks," I said to the neighbour, "I have recordings of everything that happened here today, including a 5-year-old being forced to handle kitchen knives." The neighbour's face went pale. Patricia looked like she might faint. We left that house within the hour. As we drove away, Emma looked up at me from her car seat. "Mommy, why did Grandma's face look funny, like this?" She looked scared, because some people think they can treat others badly forever, sweetheart. She never expected me to stand up for us. "Are we going somewhere safe?" "Yes, baby. We're going to Grandpa and Grandma's house in Phoenix, where people love us the right way." The neighbour who witnessed our confrontation turned out to be the neighbourhood gossip queen. And you know what? For once, I was grateful for gossip. By New Year's Day, everyone in Patricia's social circle knew exactly what had happened. The Facebook post went viral in their little community. I witnessed Patricia Williams psychologically abusing her daughter-in-law and forcing a 5-year-old to handle dangerous kitchen knives. This woman is a menace to her own family. 300 comments, 800 shares. Patricia's perfect reputation crumbled overnight. Meanwhile, I threw myself into my new job. Within 2 weeks, I was handling major accounts and earning more than I had before Emma was born. Turns out, managing Patricia Williams for 5 years had been excellent training for handling difficult clients. My lawyer, Janet, was amazed when I brought her the evidence. Sarah, in 20 years of practice, I've never seen evidence this clear-cut. With those recordings and your neighbour's testimony, this case is bulletproof. The process still took 8 weeks of filings, depositions and hearings, but every step moved in my favour. Michael kept missing court dates, showing up unprepared. By the time the final hearing arrived, it wasn't much of a hearing. Michael showed up unprepared, no lawyer, looking like he hadn't slept in weeks. Patricia tried to attend, but the judge shut that down immediately. Mrs. Williams, you have no legal standing in this case. However, given the evidence of your behaviour toward the minor child, I'm ordering supervised visitation only. I got full custody. Michael got 1 supervised visit per month, which Emma declined every single time. Over the next few months, I heard through mutual friends that Michael was struggling. First, he'd been written up at work for missing days during the divorce proceedings. Then his performance started slipping. Apparently he was drinking more, showing up late. His boss had given him warnings. 4 months after I left, my phone rang. Unknown number, but I recognized the voice immediately. Sarah, I lost my job. They said I had too many unexcused absences. I can't make child support payments. My mom is driving me crazy. Please, can we talk? Michael, you chose your mother over your wife and daughter for 5 years. Now you get to live with that choice, literally. He'd moved back in with Patricia after losing his apartment. 2 grown adults who never learned how to function without someone to abuse, stuck with each other. The irony was beautiful. Patricia tried calling me once. 6 months later. Her voice was different, smaller, broken. Sarah, maybe I was too harsh. People are avoiding me. Even my bridge club won't let me play anymore. I just want to see Emma. I saved that voicemail, not out of sentiment, but as a reminder of how quickly a bully becomes pathetic when they lose their power. Her church group started avoiding her. Even the grocery store clerks knew her reputation. In a small community like that, that's a reputation that never goes away. Today, Emma is 7 years old and fearless. When someone at school tries to boss her around, she says, "That's not how we treat people in my family." I taught her that breaking bad rules isn't rebellion, it's self-respect. Mommy, what would have happened if we stayed with Daddy and mean Grandma? We would have forgotten how special and valuable we are, sweetheart. Sometimes you have to break the rules to save yourself. I got promoted to senior financial analyst last month with a $25,000 raise. Emma takes violin lessons and art classes. We have a house with a garden where she grows sunflowers taller than herself. Michael pays child support on time because he learned I don't make empty threats. But you know what the real victory is? Emma will never accept being treated like I was. She'll never let someone make her feel small or worthless. She'll never believe that love comes with the price of losing yourself. If you're listening to this and thinking about your own family rules, the ones that make you feel small, invisible, or like hired help in your own life, I want you to know something. Those aren't real rules. They're control tactics, and you have permission to break every single one. Patricia's rule was, you live in his house and eat his food, so you owe us everything. My new rule is, I live in my own life and make my own choices, so I owe toxic people nothing. The best revenge isn't getting even, it's refusing to play their game anymore. It's building a life so beautiful that your abusers become irrelevant background noise. It's teaching your children that they deserve better than you settled for. I used to think that keeping the peace meant keeping quiet. Now I know that real peace comes from refusing to accept what's unacceptable. It comes from looking at someone who's trying to diminish you and saying, "No, not today, not ever again." If this story gave you permission to break some toxic family rules, please subscribe to Whispers of Revenge and hit that notification bell. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. and comment below. What family rule did you break to save yourself? I read every comment, and your courage inspires me. Remember, you are not their maid, their property, or their emotional punching bag. You are the author of your own life story. This is Sarah Martinez, and this was my Christmas revelation.